Did it go? Did it work? Did we
Yes,
do it?
Kappa, it
Yes,
worked.
there it is.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Numenera Remnant Fourth Watch. Hello, my name is Luke. I'll be your wonderful, but not as wonderful as these people, host today. And let's all go around the table real quick and just explain what your name and who your character was in this exciting season. Let's start with Mare.
Oh, I am I first. Hi, I'm Mare. I use she, they pronouns, and I played Lictum Brattlesby. At the very end, I was a curious Jack who rode the Latin.
Feel free to popcorn it.
Oh, I'm gonna popcorn it to Kappa.
Hi, I'm Kappa, also known as Christian, I guess. You have seen me play throughout all of Numenera's 2 seasons as Verve, the risk-taking Jack who touches the ding-dang sky, and that has not changed since season 1, episode 1. Let's go, Finley.
Hi, I'm Finley. I use they, them pronouns. And I have been playing Nova, the protective glaive who sees beyond.
And that leaves me. Hello. My name is Alex. I have been the GM for this game, and I had a great time doing it.
And our wonderful friend Seth playing Rashiel will not be joining us tonight. However, she will not be without mention, as a question might just involve her, and we'll have to see how the cast responds. For those that are not clued into our process of a fourth watch, this is a time to decompress over the course of the entire season of this show, where we're going to ask our wonderful cast members questions about their characters, about their choices, about what could have been, and something much less productive as well in the next few hours. So feel free to drop any questions that you might have in the chat as we go along, and we'll try to consider those as well. But we have a list of questions from our wonderful community as we've gone. So we're just going to jump right in. Does anything else I'm missing before we jump in? Are y'all ready for some questions?
No,
Super ready.
Because I know some of those questions, and it made me already grown already.
That's conflict of interests. Well, let's start out with a pretty interesting but simple one. Over the course of this entire season, what obstacles are you most proud of overcoming, both individually or as an entire group? And that can go for maybe the DM of Alex, who they think might have, or what obstacles they might think is a great one to overcome.
Not easy.
Are we, really quick though, are we answering this over the whole series or just season 2? Because we never had a fourth watch for season 1.
We did.
Oh.
This is the whole series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might as well.
Then
Anything and everything.
Yeah, everything's fair game.
Honestly, I thought we were gonna die when the Raiders came in season 1.
Same.
That there were some miraculous dice rolls, truly. Like I'm still like feeling the physical effect of the near escapes that we had in that encounter. So I cannot believe we pulled it out of the bag. Yeah, and I want to be really clear, like Lichten saved the day on that one, like literally saved people's butts.
Can I be honest though? Season 1 finale had a bigger emotional impact than season 2. They were both very good, but like I'm still reeling from season 1 finale.
I
think later.
I'd have to agree with that. I think it's because we went into the end of season 1 having a plan that was not relevant at all. Like we stepped into it and had just no recourse for like the first few things that Alex threw at us in that encounter. And so whole time we were just kind of like, what is going on? Was like we were improvising.
Yeah, which made sense for like who we were, because it was in the course of that battle that like we, changed from being as a group like some scrappy so-and-sos with potential to like, you know, leading figures in the town. And I remember that like the first episode back in season 2 was us kind of grappling with the fact that we had survived, but also like how different our community had become as a result of that. So like, yeah, that whole encounter was so pivotal.
I think for me personally, the biggest obstacle was the creature meter. There were like specifically, we had the Dread Destroyer, we had the Watchers, we had Ash in beginning. Like it's always unpredictable whenever the audience can affect the game in that way, because not even the GM is going to know when to implement these things. And so that bit of randomness, that bit of storytelling can throw a whole wrench into however best laid plans you can have. So I think for me, it was the creature meter.
And like, speaking of the creature meter, like some of those felt like that there were no outs for some of them. Like, like out of all the creature meters, I think I was most dumbfounded by the carnivorous color.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do with this thing?
Sorry, I'm gonna have to fight the entire visible spectrum.
Yeah. Kind of like Alex, kind of piggybacking off that question, are there any specific combats or situations that really stood out to you, like a GM, from a GM standpoint?
So this will be the first of many shout outs to Rashiel, I imagine, but one of the challenges that I took most pleasure in watching someone overcome was Rashiel doing the poison eating, for a variety of reasons. There is a novel called The Poison Eater, which is set in the Numenera 9th world, that I've read part of. And so like going to like M8 was like basically all fan fiction for me. And so having a player go through the poison eating was, to me, it was just fun. And I felt like it was sufficiently deadly. It's simultaneous. I feel like it was sufficiently deadly. There was XP spent. It was sufficiently challenging, and it was sufficiently narratively weighty. So that was one of the challenges that I enjoyed most seeing it overcome. As far as things that were difficult for me, I would have to say working in the creature meter stuff was probably one of the most difficult things that I had to do. I'm happy with pretty much all of those implementations. I can't think of like a single one where I'm like, I could have done better. Because I feel like if there was a better monster, or I don't want to say monster, even if there was a better creature I could have picked, I think y'all ran away with everything we got. And I even think that our like, low 1 tier creatures gave us some pretty good impacts with like the chance moths and ash and stuff like that. So.
Chance moths were so cool though.
They're fucking wild. I love those.
And in a setting or in a story that didn't have a lot of like creature combat, like those encounters really, certainly for me, like helped bring the world to life.
Another combat that really stood out or situation that stood out to me where I felt like I really had to like work for it was the very last one with the Iron Wind, because once I realized I was rolling might rolls, I knew I could have been 100% screwed. So that was just me praying.
It seems that naturally, like many great moments within RPGs, some of the most unexpected and off-the-cuff ones were the ones that kind of drove things forward, and also showed off the creativity of our wonderful DM and players, how they have to overcome impossible odds. Sounds pretty neat to me. Let's move on to a less coherent question. If you suddenly, as a character, became a deity of pies, P-I-E-S, what pie would be your avatar? Basically, what kind of pie would your character be?
I got it. Okay, so there's an answer here, because obviously Nova is very sweet. She's like just pure innocent goodness, so she's got to be a sweet potato pie.
Wait, isn't sweet potato actually not a tuber?
Don't say these things to me. Nova is not hearing it.
Okay,
la
fine.
la la.
It's a tuber.
It is okay.
It's a
I
tuber.
don't
It's
remember.
a tuber for the
Okay, for all.
In Numenera, they've bioengineered tuber versions of yams.
Yeah, it's a tuber.
And
if it's not a tuber, then whatever. Nova's a sweet tuber pie.
I think Verve would be like an on the go kind of pie, like a hand pie, you know. So I'm gonna go with your apple pie that you get at McDonald's that comes in like a little, and you can just grab it and go.
Can I make an addendum to that?
Sure.
I feel like Verve has more, a little spicy on that. But if you're gonna go like the hand pie route, can he be a hot pocket?
Yes, there you go. He's a hot pocket. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Hot pocket.
And I totally didn't say that because I was gonna say apple pie because it's good and reliable for like.
I'm gonna say, yeah, no, like I think ham and cheese specifically because he's a big ham and he's real cheesy.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
Oh shit!
Oh boy. Oh boy. So does Alex have to answer for like
I do.
their NPCs?
I already have an ant. No, this is for me.
Oh, okay.
So I would be a deity of all pies that have both an upper and a bottom crust because that would technically make it a sandwich. And don't give me that face. That is totally a sandwich.
It is a
No.
sandwich, but like, can you answer it for Pandora because that's technically your character in the game?
Okay,
Yeah, that's your
true.
self-insert, right?
That's true. Not necessarily my self-insert. That was a player character.
Okay.
Gosh, let's see. God, she would be some sort of acquired taste because she's a bit of. See, here's my problem. I like pies, so anytime I think of a pie, I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that's good," and I can't think of anything that would actually, like, be sufficiently difficult to take first time around.
The palette, yeah.
To be Pandora.
What
Maybe
about
like rhubarb.
Rhubarb's good though.
Or
But
what
it's
about not a
acquired.
fruit pie? What about like a steak and kidney or something? Or like
Fish pie.
a seafood fish
Oh,
pie. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like fish
Oh
pie.
yeah,
Yeah, the
something
ones that
like
are-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are served straight from the fridge, and you're like, pies are supposed to be warm.
Yeah, something along those lines for sure.
I've had those. I kind of do like them, but they are an acquired taste.
What do y'all think Rashil would be?
Something art. Like a
Like a key lime.
I don't know. I was originally thinking like, I don't know if this pie exists, but the first thing that popped into my mind for Rashil was like, like chocolate with chili in it.
ooh.
Like, I don't know if that's an
Yeah.
actual pie, but something along those lines.
like a
chocolate.
French
That's fair,
silk,
that-
but with like a little bit of like spice in there.
Yeah, like chocolate pie, but you're using Mexican chocolate with the cinnamon in it.
Ooh.
I might
And
have invented something just now.
So here's the thing is like I feel like Rashil's not here, but I feel like that makes me think of Rashil's entire character arc of going from something where it's like like what this character is kind of spiky, but like growing so much over the course of the season to something where everyone's like like we all need this. So warm.
Yeah.
That's actually a good kind of similar idea to our next question. If you could say, what have you learned from your character? What as the player have you learned from going through the challenges and times of Verve, of Nova, of Lichten, and of anyone else in the NPC list, Alex?
Ooh. I do like this one.
The problem with me though is I have like two versions of characters. One is easier than the other, but like I already try to be like Lichten sometimes. Just try to be reliable. I try to be nice and care. So like I don't know.
So I can speak to this for Nova. So Nova really speaks to one of my favorite themes, which is about doubt and certainty. Doubt, uncertainty, and faith. And so to me, the part of her like arc that I find really interesting is how she started off motivated by like blind conviction, really like unwavering acceptance of the path that she was on, and then came full circle to a very like a very profound questioning of that, and then around to like rediscovering that if you continue to like, it's okay to explore different things that feel right in the moment, because like, you know, whatever you're going to like, if you're making decisions that are right for you, you're going to end up in the place you're supposed to be. So I'm not going to try and quote a movie that this is speaking to, but if you've seen Babette's Feast, there's a line in there about like, you know, the things we've chosen are given to us, and also the things we have not chosen. And I think that's something that I'm always trying to learn.
I like that. It's really nice.
That's really you got more out of this than I did.
Yeah, same.
I think for me, Verve not necessarily any characteristics of Verve, but playing Verve and writing Verve. I learned a lot about character progression and just like the arc, telling someone's story over a longer period of time, because you can I tried to tell Verve's story in little snippets and vignettes and with his interactions with other people, and having those grow over time. At first I thought it was going to be a very this and this, but really like for example, if I have a conversation with Licton, it's going to follow that the next conversation with Licton is going to be a natural progression of that. While that can be true, there are other branches that stem off of that. Verve's relationship with Licton informed a lot of his interactions with Nova and Rashiel and other NPCs. It's not just and so I'm not like a writer or an author or anything. I like to pretend that I do sometimes, but the character progression has been something that I want to interact with a lot more, and this was my great opportunity to practice that and flex and try and really put it into something that people are going to see and look at and judge and have to be okay with that. So I think that's what playing Verve and being Verve taught me, was one, story telling a character story over a longer period of time and having that still make sense, but also two, being okay with it not being perfect and not being able to go back and revise and stuff, and just letting things be.
I think you did a good job telling Verve's story over these 16 sessions.
I liked it.
You can tell you thought really hard about it.
I mean, some of them I did think really hard about it. Other things just kind of like appeared.
Hey.
That's the magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see the door and you walk through it.
Or in some cases, fly out the window. I kind of don't know, because like as I was saying before, I have two ranges of characters, and one of them I don't really learn from. So I don't really have an answer for this. Sorry.
That's fair.
What do you wish you got out of Licton?
From a character standpoint or from a player character standpoint?
I don't know.
I think I kind of wish I had like a more solidified idea on how I wanted his story to end. Not so loosey-goosey up in the air.
I would argue the only person who was loosey-goosey up in the air was our friend, Verve.
That's the damn truth.
Well, see, I think that's perfect, because we know that this is not where Licton's story ends. We still got Bolts and Volts to Numenera Bolts and Volts.
Very true.
The Buddy Buddy series starring Licton and Rashiel.
Let me just put up a Ko-fi goal up for that.
How about you, Alex? Did you learn anything from either your players or playing as your NPCs?
I don't think this is necessarily tied to NPCs necessarily, as much as it was tied to like just how I went about dealing with like creatures and people, because one of the things that I tried to deal with in this game is like, what exactly are monsters? Because now that we're divorced from the, you know, the canon of creatures that we know of for D&D, it was a chance to view every single encounter, every single being with a fresh perspective. And that was really fun. So like the first encounter with this giant Tyrannosaurus looking thing, you know, you would expect it to be like, yes, big apex predator, you must tame the wilderness to be able to settle here first. But, you know, it was like, that wasn't it. It was very much inspired by this sort of true historical story of a tiger who was shot in the mouth in a failed hunting expedition. And so this tiger ended up hunting people because it was the only prey it could get, because its natural prey was just too much for it with this broken jaw. And so you had this creature that was both a predator and a victim strictly of circumstance. And so that was very much what like I wanted the Jurassic to be. It was a creature, it wasn't a monster. On the flip side of that, I don't think I've ever been successful enough to get my players to hate an adversary so much as I was able to get Licton and Nova to hate the projection of those guys in suits who created and deployed AM. And those were just people. Those were just people who had an ideology and a goal, and they pursued it to the fullest extent that they could, and it turned out very poorly for a lot of people, but it benefited them.
And they were dead they've been dead for a long
They've been dead for a long time, but their project lives on and still causes misery to the people who have to live in, you know, this sort of post like Pandora's box has been opened. Like the weapon is now out there. It cannot be unmade. And it's just out there. And then, you know, the fact that like this came from people, like, I feel like I was able to communicate that like, yes, Am is like bad and needs to be stopped, but Am is not the real villain. Am was a tool. And so that's what I really enjoyed being able to approach from my perspective. It's like, what really are monsters?
I actually have an actual answer for this question now, after I was given a second. So this is the third game I've been in on Ophrei in terms of short-term campaigns, but Licton, I think, is the first character where I've learned to start getting comfortable as being vulnerable in character. Because that's something, one, I either haven't had a chance for because I was too new or it just wasn't right for the character. And this was just, and also just the interactions. And I had a lot of those interactions in this game with a bunch of characters. Still not comfortable with it, but I think still getting a good step forward.
Awesome. That's great when you can step into that new kind of experience with people that you can trust in a great game. And Alex, kind of to touch back on what you were getting at with some of the mechanical identity of the system reflecting in your ability to design encounters with kind of a new lens to view them from. This kind of blends well into our next question, which is for everyone, but on this channel specifically, or maybe in a lot of our TTRPG backgrounds, Dungeons and Dragons is the kind of de facto one that is the most often one that most people try first and kind of learn different systems such as cipher systems kind of much later, but it definitely changes the way you think about it. What did you like about playing Numenera at your specific kind of like either skill level or level of interaction with it? And how does it rank among systems you've played? And kind of similar to Alex's experience as DM, is there anything that the mechanical identity of the game has kind of reflected in your understanding and the way that you act in character that is satisfying or not, maybe? Sorry, that was a massive question.
That was massive. Maybe can you copy paste?
I'll figure something to respond to somewhere in there.
Copy paste that into the chat, please.
I can do that.
Or send it to me and I'll copy paste it. It's fine.
I kind of added some to it, but yes.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that in a system like D&D, there's so much pressure to conform to, optimize character builds. And I think anyone who is playing a game like Cypher or Numenera, Invisible Sun, whatever, for the first time, like, you immediately realize that there's the system sort of encourages you to mix and match a little bit more. So, like, when I was making Nova, I was originally a driven glaive who sees beyond, and if just to break those down, a glaive is one of the 3 character types who's like a fighter character. And so normally you'd say, like, well, what could I add on to that? Well, like, how could I beef up my fightiness? But based on like what we talked about for our story, it's like, it's not really it's not a guaranteed benefit to you to just like magnify the bonus, the talents or traits that you already have. So like the idea of a fighter who is like driven by a goal, who also has the ability to like see through matter and space, like those don't really go together. But like having the system freedom to do that is really exciting.
I think personally for me, one, the setting of Numenera, really cool sci-fi fantasy, just set in the future, but still kind of like this technological magic type thing. That for me was very unique and fun to interact with, trying to find the identity, the feel, the voice, and the tone of that setting, and finding a character that I could make that would fit in with that was a lot of fun. But for what sets Numenera aside from D&D, I've that's jumped out immediately to me was you're using 1d20. So you use a d6 to heal, whatever, but you're using 1d20, and the difficulty challenge set by the GM goes down as opposed to your skill level being built up. So D&D 5e, you have proficiency bonuses, you have character bonus, you have racial traits, you have all these different abilities that give you a better chance to hit a difficulty challenge of a certain number and surpass that by making your numbers go up. The thing that sets Numenera aside from other games that I played before is that your skills, your abilities, your assets bring the difficulty challenge down, the number you have to beat down, so that you're not constantly adding like 48 different things to get a higher number. You're actually just making the big number go down so that you can roll a single smaller number. And from a game design perspective, from a mathematics perspective, that was really refreshing. Took out a lot, like, because I don't know, I'm gonna shit on Pathfinder and Pathfinder Second Edition. There's just like, I can roll something and then roll like a 32 and be like, oh no, that failed. That doesn't sit right with me. That does not sit right with me. Anyway, yeah, that to me, with Numenera and like Montico Games and Invisible Sun, all these different things where you take the big number and bring it down, feels lighter, feels refresher, and you can worry more about what a role means to your character and how you want that role to manifest, other than before worrying about what little pieces add up to make a bigger number and succeed.
Mm-hmm. As Kappa was saying, this God, on the same vein of like D&D and Pathfinder, comparatively I really enjoy Numenera. I like the Cypher system, and let's face it, D&D and Pathfinder are super crunchy. Systems like Numenera and other rules, I don't want to say light, but simpler games, I feel it really do give you the ability to focus on your character and like how they think and what they would do, and you're not doing it from a optimized perspective and just looking at the numbers. As a setting, At first, I was a give or take type of thing because, like, I'm kind of iffy on sci-fi in general, but the way Alex runs their games makes me want to play it more and or run it, which is bad for my wallet, so stop. But as I play more of these games that are not similar to D&D and Pathfinder and the Crunch, I realize it's something I prefer. So I'm glad for this opportunity to try out these new systems.
I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to comment that I heard something in someone's background.
That was me. Sorry. I also was going to say that I love how wiggly the skill systems are.
Oh my God, yes.
Where it's like, if you're used to getting D&D, like, you've got a list of these many skills. If it's not listed, you're just like
shit out of luck
trying to shoot. It's implied that everything has a match because, of course, there's so many. Like, how could your skill not be on the map, not be on the list? But for us, it's like, all right, well, there's what skills might you have? Climbing, jumping, social interactions, leveraging risk. Kevin, did you ever really figure out what that is?
Once. It happened once. It was one time that it applied. Same with parkour.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, like, having run a similar system, people are like, what skills are there? I'm like, I don't know, what could you be skilled in?
What do you want to be good at?
Admittedly, I spent like an hour and a half looking for a skills table when building Verve. There wasn't one. Wasn't one. I was too scared to ask. Eventually I did ask because I just couldn't find it. I didn't want to select like just a random skill and be good at some bullshit thing.
What I also like about the Numenera system and like the Cypher and Invisible Sun is you also get to build your characters and mix and match. When you're doing like a D&D campaign, you only have like a limited amount of things you can choose. Like, your options are like endless for this system.
Mm-hmm. From the wonderful mind of Monty Cook, where it's just like ideas.
Here, take
ideas.
Take my dreams and put them into a book.
And I like I run D&D and I am perfectly comfortable with it. I'm not saying like play this game over D&D. I'm like, what I'm saying is this game is a great alternative to D&D if you find yourself not liking the crunch, the set of rules that you or your GM or whoever decide to run by. I found that I take a lot of elements that Alex introduced through Numenera and bring them into my D&D games. It makes the narrative feel a lot better if that's what you're going for, if that's the kind of game that you want to play. But yeah, no, like Numenera was so refreshing, character creation wise, rules wise, rolling wise. Yeah, it just was great.
I did not focus on how to optimize anything as a character in this system, which I feel like you're kind of like shoehorned in or shamed into doing in D&D.
Because like in D&D, if you don't, at least you're really presented with a binary choice. Like, you can optimize your character, or you can constantly feel under what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I think D&D is set up to be slightly frustrating experience if you have not optimized your character. Sorry, this is not a question about D&D. But what I like, again, going back to Nova, like, even though her focus was like, I think it's kind of written as something that would be good for a nano, but she felt like a really effective character because her build fit her background, fit her story, and it didn't like trip her up in the things that I wanted her to do in the story.
I have run one whole game in the past 2 years like a homebrew type, my own setting. So like Numenera was like the final thing for me to like completely sell me on like running other settings, because I fucking hate world building. I'm gonna be blasphemous. World building is garbage, trash. I hate it. I never feel like I'm done. I feel like there's like always something else to do, always some other bullshit I gotta cram in there. I hate it. And so no, running Numenera was great because I found this, I came into it like just with the setting as it was presented. And I worked with what that gave me, and I had a ton of fun doing it. So yeah, I love Numenera. Currently, it's definitely, I would say that Numenera is right now like the only system I'm like really thinking about running. I had a blast with it. I loved the flavor. I loved running the rules. And I loved everything being a surprise to the players. I love the newness of it. Because like going back to the monsters for a quick second, like every creature was a brand new experience. And like that was fun to run. And it's fun for me to read, and I just really I love the setting, and now I'm like 150% sold on like pre-written settings because world building sucks.
On the flip side, though, you gotta read an entire setting.
True. That's true.
Very true.
I mean, but also though, like really, so like I spent a huge amount of time like stressing about like knowing enough of the setting before we ran this game. Like 90% of what I read for prep, I didn't use at all. Like really, what I used was like vibes.
Yeah.
Like really, that's about it. Like I got info. I mean, granted, if we ran a different game, like if you all decided you wanted to play in a different part of the world, I very well might have used a ton of that, background information. But really, all of the setting stuff I read about, it was just because y'all decided to play this game in such an obscure part of the world. Like all of the setting info I just took as like inspiration and vibes, and I did not have to remember a damn thing.
And like here, this is gonna stray away from like the Numenera Remnant, but like, what the hell is Monty Cook gonna do if you're like, oh yeah, no, this Charmand is this.
Yeah, right.
Or like I run in various worlds. Like Matt Mercer's not gonna come at me and be like, yeah, no, Tal'Dorei is this.
Right? Yeah. No, I always equate it to
I
like
challenge you, Matt Mercer, to come at me.
It's like it's your Tal'Dorei.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like the writer of the world is not gonna bust through the wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man telling me I'm doing it wrong.
Okay.
But
the worst you're gonna get is some nerd like, actually.
Yeah.
I would just like to say that if either of the aforementioned game designers want to bust through my wall like
Right?
Kool-Aid
Yeah.
man, I'll pay the repairs. It's okay.
Right, that's true.
I've got a spare wall.
Listen,
Yeah, I'm
if
there.
Monte Cook or like Keith Baker busts through my wall, I'd be giving them my spare room.
Listen, yeah, you're all invited. Show on up.
In through the news sphere, out through the data sphere.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, Luke.
There you go.
Yay.
Well, that was a nice way to end a Numenera question.
Nerd.
For our next question, it comes to what was one of your most favorite moments, or potentially unexpected ones, from a cast member other than yourself, and why was it impactful?
Oh jeez.
The rock garden. I really like the rock garden a lot. The rock garden was probably like, just including it from like Finley, including the rock garden just gave us a little bit of Remnant's heart, like just a little bit of origin, a little bit of like the little piece of identity that is going to carry on throughout how whatever Remnant turns into. I really enjoyed that decision to come up with it. I know it was I imagine it was pretty small decision, but you came back to it in the last episode and reminded me like, yes, we have that to remind us of where we started. It was just a really good through line from back here in the beginning all the way out here to where we ended.
And that rock garden is probably gonna last for a long, long time and be added to.
That was mine.
I think one of my favorite parts was that any one-on-one conversation between Verve and Rashiel, but I especially liked that one where you two were on watch under the stars with Ash. Like, I feel like there was good moments in that.
That was the one where I talked about stars moving, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like what you what you thought of them, what they were as a kid, and we got a really good look into Verve's dreams.
Finley or Alex?
I also have a Verve one, which is the moment when Rashiel had just come back and we had realized what had happened with the poison eating, and Verve immediately, like, Verve's reaction was to leave the room, which is not a choice that, like, that speaks to me of like a role player who's like super comfortable in the character, because like to say like, oh, the right choice for my character in this moment is to actually walk away is a big choice, or it feels like a big choice to me. I remember being like, whoa, okay, like your action in this conversation is like not to be in the conversation. So yeah,
instinctively, like sometimes when you're a player, you want to like keep that group cohesion and like still want to be involved in conversations. So to actually step away and not be involved can be big. And that also that was also, I think, the first time we've seen Verve mad.
Yeah, it was like the person who never yells, like yelling, except it was the person who's always like, like I've got things to say, like. It was really effective and really impactful and a little scary.
I really, if I can respond to that, I really appreciate y'all catching all of these wonderful things, because I was not thinking about that. I was thinking, what the fuck do I say? I need to give myself more time because Verve needs to respond and I need to put a pause on this, so I'm out. But
well, you fooled us.
That's the best part, when you didn't have an answer, and that was the right answer in character too. So, Alex, anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, one of the there were probably a couple, but I know I can start with one of them. Was early on, and I feel bad for not remembering the exact context of this, but I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I hear my cat at the door.
Scraps!
Give me 1 second. We'll have a cat feature.
Did the creature meter fill up?
Yep.
Because we're about to have an encounter.
That's right. Pet the pet. Scraps, come here.
Where is the cat?
There he is.
Oh, we have a guest entering the fray.
Oh, baby.
Well.
Q&A over.
Fourth watch over, and now it's just cat petting.
Pets.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Scraps.
Hold up the kitty. Aww.
Little baby.
He's so good.
Alex, can we interview Scraps? Can you get their take on this season?
Yeah, I forget the exact context of it, but it's similar to Verve stepping out of the room when he realized that Rashiel ate the poison. I really love this one moment in season 1 where after they first got onto the ruin for one of the first times, there was some sort of conflict regarding like awareness of some of the like weaponized memes and like the effects of Am and the ship, and Nova got really sharp with Verve, and she said something like, "Don't fuck with me, Verve."
Yes.
Like that was so great, because it was again a situation where someone who's like, I don't typically expect to be like super angry, really gets serious in a moment. And like I love those moments of like a character sort of like showing an emotion that they're not typically associated with because of like a stressful situation or something like that. So that was one of the moments that I really loved, because I felt like it was a side of Nova that we didn't get to see often, but when it did come out, it was like, you know, it was something that you like would never forget about the character.
Well, similar to Verb, I'm like, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that was also a point of vulnerability for me, because I'm like, you know, I mean, I guess that's the role-playing challenge of like getting into someone's head enough to show their inconsistencies.
I also, when we all got together for our session zeros and after episode 1, because I think that was episode 2, we were like, we've got a really good group. This is really great chemistry. And being on the receiving end of that, of Nova snapping at Verve, no, not at all. No, I was like, this is wonderful. This feels like, I feel that, one, I was really comfortable being and showing conflict between characters, because I knew that the player on the other side of that character is going to be okay. I don't know what everyone else's comfortability is with that. So in that that was the first moment where I was thinking, okay, everyone is kind of on the same page. Finley is on the same page to be able to show player character conflict and be confident that I myself, I'm gonna be fine. And so that was I remember specifically thinking in those call outs that we've got thinking in those call outs that we have permission to be in conflict with each other as player characters and still be awesome players with each other.
That's awesome, Spaces, when a group comes together enough to the point where you're not afraid to go into vulnerable territory. That is probably some of the stuff that a lot of awesome campaigns never get if they're not that comfortable. So that's definitely a time to treasure, and I'm glad you all were able to do that. It kind of leads into what we were talking about before in another way, which is, were there any unexpected choices that you found yourselves making in character? Was there anything that you didn't realize that Verve or Nova or Lichten was going to do, but in the moment reacted in a way that was natural but somewhat caught you as the player off guard? Anything like that come to mind?
Yes. I'm gonna let if no one else has anything, but one definitely comes to mind right now for me.
Can you put that one in chat so I can read it, Luke?
Sure.
So I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit here. Mare and I, when we were like, disaster jacks, hell yeah, and interwove our backstories together, we came up with this really, really lofty and ambitious idea that we were like going to turn Verve and Lichten into a thing, and that we tried to tell it in pieces throughout season 1 of them growing closer together, but also there's that whole thing with that tiny thing that with Verve being the reason why Charmand is in shambles, and putting Lichten as the scapegoat, having this whole arc of like trust, betrayal, and then building trust back up into a sort of romantic relationship. In between season 1 and 2, I wasn't expecting Verve, actually, just like the character of Verve coming to me, like wanting to work on himself more. We mentioned in the break between season 1 and 2 that Verve and Lichten did try something, but it not working out because Verve was trying too much to be like Lichten, and that didn't sit right with him. That surprised me, as I was trying to imagine Verve's progression, because I was totally down to just continue forward with, laying little Verve Lichten disaster jack #disasterjack romance snippets in there, but yeah, I deviated in a way that I wasn't expecting.
I think though, when we were talking about this behind the scenes, it surprised me too, but like thinking back on it, like after you said it, like it makes so much sense. with the logic you gave out, and I think it was even though it was an unexpected choice, I thought it was a very good one and the right one. I'm still thinking, so if Finley, if you have anything.
It's a hard one.
It is very hard.
So midway after the climactic battle at the end of season 1, Nova changed her focus, or changed her descriptor, from driven to protective to reflect her new her shift in priorities. But I think taking both myself and unfortunately Alex, by surprise is this. I realized that going along with that sort of in the moment was, also a changing awareness that it's okay not to prioritize the quest that she was looking at, this wild goose chase for the pilgrim quest that she'd undertaken, and talking about how that she was almost formally renouncing that role. I don't know that it had huge story impacts, but it did it did influence the way that I played her a little bit, as being I tried to play her a little bit more grounded in reality and problem solving in the second season.
Throughout the entirety of season 2, after the finale of season 1 and Remnant's population basically skyrocketed, I always had it in my head that Licton was going to settle down, find a partner, possibly have a family. I threw the idea of getting together with an NPC. And literally up until the last 5 minutes when Alex asked, "What is the future of your character?" it didn't feel right. So that was my unexpected choice for Licton to start traveling again. Because, yeah, it's a home he built up and grew, but it's not where he was meant to be anymore.
Very cool. How about you, Alex? Anything super unexpected?
I'll tell you, I feel like the players surprised me a lot. I feel like they did some really wild and unexpected shit. One of the things that surprised me the most was in season 1 finale, Verve flying up to be roughly at level with King Crimson, a couple hundred feet off the air, and then using the matter relocation cipher, which I think is a hilarious effect in general. It takes something that is like your size or smaller and instantly teleports it 100 miles away in a random direction. So I just think that's absolutely hilarious, just in general. And then he's like, yeah, I want to use this on the cipher that's letting him fly. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, sure. And it was some fucking absurd difficulty, and you brought it down far enough to where you could hit it with that. God, that was one of your risk things, right?
Yeah. So it was reroll with an asset. Shields helped with that a little bit too. And I think
no, you use the one else where if it's 6, you can automatically see it on a challenge 6 or lower if you accept a GM intrusion.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, that one.
And so as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, I've got an idea, but this is not a good one.
Oh no, it's a great idea. Do not.
The captain's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay. Yeah, he starts falling, but so do you. But that whole thing was not planned. I had expected and planned for some grand confrontation in the ruin with monologuing and the traditional fight scene, and all of that got absolutely upended, and it was great.
I can't imagine that having gone any other way.
No, I would not change that for the absolute world. That was the fucking best.
In my experience as DM, it always is both the biggest badge of pride and the biggest kind of what the heck do I do next face when my players break the rules of what I'm trying to do.
Exactly, right?
Well, that was those are some good moments, unexpected throughout the campaign. There's been a lot of them, and there's still a lot more questions, but we are going to go to a bit of a break. Please take a bit to...
Whoops. Sorry, I accidentally turned us to the break screen.
We're back.
Sorry, I didn't have the transition set up.
And we're back.
Slots.
I hope that you had a great break of less than a second.
All right, break's over.
This is why it's live. This is live, y'all.
This is live. You know it. We're here. Well, now we're going to go on a longer break. Take a second to pet your pets, get some water, have a bio break, and we will be back soon for more questions.
Bye.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Oh boy.
Oh baby, I love your madness.
Welcome to our Patreon. Here on Open for Adventure, we are making high quality Dungeons and Dragons content, folks. We have a great big world to share with you, and by becoming a patron, you can help us explore and expand upon this adventure. With your support, we can invest in more amazing artwork, better mics, fancy cameras, and overall stream quality. Not to mention, help us get some amazing new merch that we can use for giveaways. What do you get by becoming a patron? I'm so glad you asked. Let's take a look at the different levels and give you a sneak peek at what you can get at each tier. Did you know that the family of the First Lord Theo, the leader of the rebellion against the Empire, actually invented firearms nearly 25 years prior to the current campaign? The designs for this high-tech weapon are the Delaney family's best-kept secret. Also, they were originally invented by the late First Lady Victoria, Theo's mother. Access to lore leaks like this is what you can expect from the first tier, written in blog-style posts after each weekly session. Ever wondered what goes on off-camera? The next 3 tiers give you exactly that. With Stolen Moments, you can get access to text-based roleplay moments, highlighting experiences that don't make it onto the stream, like Leona's training session with Ray and Asmrin. Stolen Moments Plus gives you access to roleplay moments featuring our guests, non-player characters, and historical figures, featuring the likes of Marshall, Annalena, and even the Empress herself. And Roleplay Addiction takes us to a whole other level. This tier gives you exclusive 30-minute videos of canon interactions not otherwise seen on stream, like late-night drunken interactions between paladins or tender moments featuring your favorite character ships. The Warm Fuzzies is super simple. It's everything I've listed so far, and also you get your name on stream after our weekly regular sessions. Every session. And our undying love. And finally, the most epic of all Patreon tiers. Drum roll, please. The Lore Master. This ultimate and final tier gets you first look access at all of the content going into our upcoming official Open for Adventure campaign setting. Lore, maps, monsters, items, dungeons, dragons. Go ahead, have a look around, make yourself at home, and consider becoming a patron to help us make this fantasy world a little bit closer to reality.
Oh, hi. My name is Express Love. I'm the Senmarian god of coffee. Did you know that in Senmaria, every cup of coffee is made with found familiar coffee beans? That's canon. In Senmaria, every cup of coffee is good coffee because it's made with love by found familiar. Did you know that every bag of found familiar coffee features artwork from incredible members of the tabletop gaming community? That's canon. Each blend and roast of found familiar coffee features cool D&D names like Thieves' Cant, Face Step, and Pact Magic. In Senmaria, every royal meeting that Ray attends features the Cartographer's Blend, a brew of coffee made by found familiar in conjunction with Devon Rue. Now that's canon. Found familiar coffee. Buy it today.
Yeah, I want it all. Could care less the cost. I give you my everything. Some would say I'm insane in the right and the way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more. That's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Oh, baby, I love your madness. It's so incredibly beautiful. Oh, you shine like gold, so selfless to all, and wild like an animal. Oh, some would say I'm insane in the right and the way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. The limit of love is endless. I know. Just do what you want with me. your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.
And welcome everyone to the Numenera Remnant 4th Watch. We are consistently on our way through some awesome questions provided by you all, the community. And if you wish to participate, throw some more questions in the chat and we will try to answer them if we can. Our first question as we come back to this awesome cast is from the chat earlier tonight, and it is very specific to our pal Nova. It is, what would have happened if Nova never stopped being the starfish?
I don't know. Alex explained this to me, but I am a small brain. As I recall, I feel like my consciousness might have eventually like left with it to go back to wherever it was, but also like I don't know, maybe I would have just been like trapped in there and like angry and frustrated and eventually like would have lost control of my own senses. I don't know. Alex, how'd I do?
I have a follow-up question when you're all are done.
Yeah, so what would have if you had never gotten back, you would have been trapped in the starfish body, and you would have lived for a very long time.
I mean, that sounds cool, actually, but I think by the end, I would no longer have been human.
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah. So if you had never gone back to your own body, you would have been stuck in starfish body, and you would have lived for a very, very, very long time. On the flip side, starfish would be stuck in your body and would have to be a 5-year-old in Nova's body. And so, yeah, you basically have traded bodies and called it a day.
No biggie.
Follow-up question for that is, if you were stuck in the starfish body, would you still have been dating Rashiel?
I mean, we would have tried to work it out. I mean, but she was afraid of heights, and I was in the height.
This is true.
So I feel like she would have had to like get cool with that.
Hell yeah.
I'm also thinking about this mechanically speaking. Like, would you have rolled a new character? Would we have like cut over, like we do the whole Numenera Remnant thing, but then Alex would say, all right, Finley, as the starfish, what are you doing?
What would you have preferred?
I think at that point I might have like rolled a new character, but had like the starfish hang around, kind of like the Jurassic.
Imagine having that over your city.
Honestly, like take the Raiders. You know, the Raiders come, they look, they go,
they leave.
Yeah, no, I'll just ask you like every session at the beginning. Okay, what's the starfish doing, Finley? Okay.
Speaking of consequences of atomic proportions, there was a point in the story where Rashiel came into the possession of an atomic bomb. What do you think either your character would do with an atomic bombs like this, and what do you think Rashiel would do with it?
Okay, I know what I want. Licton's the responsible one. He would have tried to drain it, like I did in the last episode with the AM thing. So drain it of power, or dismantle it. Probably drain first, then dismantle. I think what Rashiel would have done, unless pressed, like a big like end of like big BBEG, and everything was okay and no BBEG, she would have done something similar when there was time. That's my personal thoughts and opinions, or maybe my hopes.
Some part of me thinks Verve at any point, like whether it's the beginning of his journey or the end of season 2 of his journey, would have sold it. I think he would have sold it.
At the end of season 2?
Who we sold it to, that's where we find the change between beginning of season 1 and end of season 2. I think he would have been more responsible with who he sold it to.
Who would you have sold it to?
I don't know. I don't know who's out there. Maybe Mar. I don't know.
Verve would have been much more responsible in picking who he sells his nuclear weapons to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Nova would have done with it. Probably taken it to someone. I feel like Nova's 2 actions are like stab and deal with this, please. I don't understand it.
And the other part of this question was like what we think Rashiel would do.
Yeah.
I personally think Rashiel would have with zero-sum game, like last ditch effort. We're not going to win, and neither are you. Just kind of in a back pocket situation. If confronted by if Mother Naomi was going to win, there's no doubt in my mind that Rashiel would have hit that button.
Yeah, I think there's a solid chance that Rashiel would have found some use for it.
I also feel like Seth would disagree with me, but that's me thinking Rashiel.
Totally fair. Well, let's move on to another unconventional type of question. What is the least conventional food item you or your character considers to be a sandwich?
I answered this already. I'm not changing it.
What was the answer? What was your answer again, Kappa?
It was a smoothie where it's bread, meat, bread smoothie.
I hate this.
Oh boy.
Licton's
I'm gonna keep thinking.
Yeah, Licton's not here for this bullshit. He would have just said a fucking sandwich. Just a fucking sandwich.
Licton is, you know what a sandwich is when you see it.
That's the boundary. There's nothing past it.
I really like Nova. Maybe like it's like a sandwich, but like instead of bread, it's like leaves, like cabbage or something.
That's not
like.
That's not a sandwich. That's a handheld salad.
Yeah, but that's
well,
Nova.
I'm answering the question for me, for Nova. Fair. So
you'd have to debate Nova.
Nova
Alex.
will tuber you.
I will.
It's you take some tubers and some mushrooms and you like mash them up and you put them between some cabbages and you eat it like this.
Well, moving on to a more relevant question. Alex, this is a question for you. Was there ever a creature that you as GM wanted to use or wished you could have used or deployed that you didn't get a chance to?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure there were any that I wish I could have used like in the story. At least not off the top of my head. I don't think there was anything that I felt. Actually, you know what? I'm lying. There are 2 that I wish I could have used. One, I forget what its name, but it's this small, like yay big little, like fat squirrel looking thing. And they're these small woodland mammals, and they're based off of the Japanese honeybees that get attacked by those big killer hornets. And what they do with these Numenera creatures is they swarm a target and they start vibrating, and they use the thermal energy to cook their target, and they show up in swarms. And it's these like adorable teddy bear looking creatures. But they do this weird like thermal vibration attack with like swarms of them, and it's absolutely hilarious and it's adorable. Because it looks like you're getting hugged to death by these like Ewoks with tails. It's ridiculous. So that is one of them. Yes, I will grab a picture of them while we go on to the next question. But an other one
hyperthermia
that I really like is a creature called I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I don't know how anything in Numenera is pronounced, to be clear. But it's called a Latos or a Latos or something like that. It's a 50-foot tall automaton with a big spherical head, and inside that sphere is a city. And that's fucking cool to me. And you can like I mean, you've got to actually like parlay with the creature to get access, but like the creature can let you in and let you out of this settlement. And they're these like old world machines that are created to like preserve ancient like cities and stuff. And so, but like, I just look at this thing. It's my favorite creature in any RPG ever. It's so fucking cool. And the questing potential of tracking one of these things down, communicating with it, getting it to let you into the city, exploring this, you know, vast, untouched, ancient, you know, relic of a city, and then coming back out with some new knowledge, some new piece of information, something like that. Oh, that would be fun. That would be fucking cool. So that's a creature that I just really enjoy.
Can I piggyback on this?
You may.
So, this creature, Licton has met one of these, and that was what started off his traveling career before he went to Charmant. Right before the finale, I was trying to think of a way how to help Remnant, and I was trying to figure out, can I modify the summoning staff to summon one of these things, and can we pick up Remnant and yeet? And I really wish you had a chance to use one of those again, because I think it would have just been a great another full circle with all the bullshit my character has seen.
That's a really cool character. Also, I love the death by cuteness of the squirrel creature. That sounds really fun.
I'm going to post one of these in our Discord general chat.
I was going to say, if you want to see what this creature might look like, you have to join our wonderful Discord in order to view it. But we have some awesome people there if you want to check it out. Our next question on the list would be, if your character had one do-over in their life, what would the do-over be? Or in another way, was there anything that you wished you could have accomplished and you didn't?
One more time? Just something we are
either a do-over or something you regret not doing.
In
Nova,
character? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, in character, like Nova would say no.
I would say the character, yeah. No, not at all. Nice.
I think no. I think I got one. I think Okay, so this I alluded to, and I never got to explore this with Alex, just because I feel like it would have just been too much narrative to throw at 2 seasons. Maybe if we had a 3rd season, then maybe. But I alluded to this a lot. But Verve doesn't know where he comes from. One day he woke up in a city. He doesn't know how old he is. He doesn't know any. He just knows that he oh my god, the little squirrel baby thing. It just appeared in Discord. It's Gus. Oh. Okay. Sidetrack. And near the end of the Datasphere arc, the idea it was posited to Verve, what would you sacrifice to do to continue your quest? And it's give up the ever finding out or ever learning about his origin. And I think that is something that he either would have taken away, or that is something that he would have wanted to explore further. Yeah, he just woke up one day not really understanding who he was, but he had certain skills and abilities and a certain drive to and pull from the night sky.
Very cool. Finley or Mare?
I can go if you need another minute, Finley.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I think the only big regret that's coming to mind right now is definitely at the end there were still unrequited feelings from Licton to Verve. And neither myself nor Licton really realized in that final conversation that Verve was never going to come back. It was just like, oh, hey, you're just leaving to try to live your life. And that's the thought process that we both had. And then I had some sads offline with Seth about this on like what Licton and Rashiel do. But like when that realization really fucking hit, some big regrets from that conversation hit hard. at least a fucking hug, you know? That's really the only thing that's coming to my mind.
I guess when Verve went into space, was the Iron Wind already gone at that point? It's even more peace outy. Anyway, how are you, Finley?
I honestly like think that Nova for herself like would not look back at her life and experience regrets. I think she might experience like this kind of like frisson of something at like being satisfied with choices that she would not have found herself making. Like I think she was probably surprised to find herself like ending her story still in Remnant with her child there and like starting over in that way. For myself, something that I would have liked to explore more was like fleshing out her home. We were able to spend a little bit of time there and see it, but it's not like even really like super. I'm not a world builder, Alex, not really. I like slotting little pieces in, but like bringing that community fully into focus is something that didn't really happen. So next time.
That is one of the things I wish I had like more time to do. I definitely think we cut it a bit close with how many episodes we had and how densely packed our last 3 or 4 shows were. That is definitely one of my bigger regrets as far as time goes, that I didn't get the chance to actually build that up quite as much as I wanted to. Yeah, there was that, and there was part of the exploring the datasphere that I didn't quite get to wrap up as well as I wanted to. But this is the nature of short-term games.
Absolutely. I've definitely been there. Let's move on to another question. This one being a little bit more lighthearted. If all of your characters were in a typical yearbook fashion, and you all had to vote on what superlatives to give each other, you have one line, and under which just picture just a really awkward yearbook photo, and under it, most likely to blank, most blanked of the year, that sort of thing. You all have to agree upon the superlative for each character. Go.
Wait, we're doing it for ourselves or like agreeing as a group for each person?
We're agreeing.
Agreeing as a group for each person.
Does Verve most improved?
Oh, I was gonna say most likely to go to jail if you were thinking at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like if it was like the freshman yearbook, it'd be most likely to end up in jail. Junior, senior yearbook, it's
most improved.
That's solid. I love that.
Definitely.
I'm also like teacher's pet for Licton.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Most likely they end up right back here.
Oh, most likely to go to the Olympics.
Aww.
Oh, I think I want to say Nova would be what's it called? We had one of these in my yearbook was easiest to get along with, I think.
Oh yes.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah, I definitely would have put in a vote for Nova to do that.
What about Rashiel?
Anything I say is gonna be mean.
Say it. Like we have to agree as a group. Remember?
I was gonna say most tsundere. If for those of you that don't know, crunchy outside, soft inside.
Yeah.
How about for Licton?
Oh, teacher's pet.
Teacher's pet.
Oh, that was teacher's
Yeah,
pet.
that's teacher's pet.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
You right?
Yeah. I guess that's your final answer. What would Alex as the DM get?
Ooh. This one's interesting because you've got a lot there.
Yeah.
Most likely to TPK their party.
So, fun fact, I will take over for just a hot minute and answer one of Ouija's questions in chat. If I was willing to kill the entire team off. Interestingly enough, I don't know if I would have. Or at least I don't know if I would have at all times. Because in Numenera, there is no cheap and easy resurrection. There is no readily accessible means of reviving a dead party member. And there are also no death saving throws. Once you hit the threshold for death, you are dead, and that is it.
I like that mechanic, I'm not gonna lie.
I do too, but on the flip side, and it's also very hard to kill Numenera characters in general. I would have to really try to do that shit. So on one hand...
Me and try and race towards death.
So
I was just saying, though, remember that time everyone was like, I'm so hurt. I only have 30 points in my pools. And I'm like,
and you're like,
what? I have like, I'm like, I am one hit away from Splat.
Did Verve and Rashiel ever get to single digits?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
A lot.
Yeah, so I wasn't, I was actually very hesitant to, and I'm glad it never came to the point where I felt like I had to pull a punch. But I don't know if I would have enjoyed having any characters die in any but a very, very specific moments. I don't think I would have minded if someone died in season 1 finale. I don't think I would have minded if someone died fighting Am, and I don't think I would have minded if someone died dealing with the Iron Wind. But, for example, if someone died fighting the carnivorous color in like episode 3 or 4, or died fighting those two mooks who kidnapped Varl, I would have felt bad about that, because that serves no narrative purpose, and you can't even come back from it. So I was willing to kill the party sometimes, if it would have made for a good story. And sometimes it would have, and sometimes it wouldn't have.
Good peeked, sneak peek of the DM's mind there. Here's one of the world. That's a question for everyone. In this entire season, there's this vessel known as Icarus that is this also fairly well known as the donut or the vessel. That a lot of things revolved around in this. But the question is, what world/century would you consider this vessel Icarus to be from? What iteration of the Ninth World do you think fits?
Wait, wasn't this my question?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a me question.
I guess that's
like a question for me.
I guess that it could, that could totally be. I guess I was thinking, do players have their own theories on it?
Yeah, I'll ask for any conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What was it in the narrative that Central Intelligence said how long they've been alive? Active, whatever.
It was
600,000 years.
Something on the order of that.
And Numenera is like set like 1 billion years in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not from our time.
No.
It's 400. No, it's like 1 million years. Several. I can't do math. Whatever. There's a lot of zeros.
I'm gonna hypothesize that it was made during the third or fourth world.
What's the release their anxiety, Alex?
All right. So Numenera is set Numenera is set 1 billion years into our future. And so that would put Icarus, if it was 600,000 years old, at basically 999 million years ahead of us.
Shit, I did my math
so
wrong.
Icarus is definitely, and to be clear, in Numenera, there's in like the rule books and the GM guidance and stuff, it's like, don't even bother distinguishing the worlds. Like, if that's something you as a person want to do, fine, but simultaneously that's not important. And I definitely subscribe to that idea, but for the sake of curiosity,
Thinking like
Icarus would have been tail end of 8th World.
Yeah.
I definitely underestimated when I spat out 600,000 years. I definitely sort of had a brain fart. I would have pushed that number way earlier. If I was being careful. But also I would have said, the final thing I will say is that given the situation that, everyone found ourselves in, I would, and to be clear, I'm not married to this idea, but I would not be surprised if Icarus is 600,000 years old, that Am was somehow wrapped up in the destruction of the 8th world.
Ooh.
So that's something that I wanted to bring up at this at the 4th watch, was because I was paying attention with all the little story bits that you had given. Like Icarus just feels like just one of several life raft type vessels to save that iteration of humanity. And then when we saw the war room scene in the data sphere, I was like, Am is 100% like the reason why 8th World collapsed.
So interesting thing about that is that I based Icarus off of this theoretical spaceship called the Stanford Taurus, which is basically like exactly the shape of Icarus, and it has that shape because it's supposed to spin up in space to create an artificial gravity. And it has dimensions and estimates for like living capacity and all that stuff, which I shamelessly stole for giving out statistics for that particular ruin. But also, interestingly enough, there is another ring-shaped ruin / structure that canonically exists in the 9th world. It's a very similar structure, dimension, everything like that, and it's like a floating water boat raft thing that supports life. And so once I found out about that thing, I'm like, oh yeah, these two are totally same, like same deal going on there.
Like people somehow remembered that was once possible to create and were able to scrap something together along the same lines.
I was thinking more along the lines of they were both created at the same time by the same people, and they both went down. They're both the same age. They're both like the same model.
Oh, it's a ruin that is to that form. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, that's rad.
That sounds really neat. I want to know more now. So, Numenera seems like a cooler and cooler setting. The more that I hear y'all talk about it.
It's so cool.
Next up for a question, I'm going to tell you a question, and I'm going to give you an easier question so you can think about the harder question.
Okay.
The first question that you need to think of is, what was the most meaningful moment or scene or thing that you experienced in this campaign for you as a player? So that's a big question. As a player, I mean, it could be as a character too, but I feel like what meant something even more so out of game than in, I think is kind of the spirit of the question. And then the other kind of easier one to think of is, how was this Numenera character that you played different from other characters you normally play? Did it kind of break from a usual? Is it same old, or how are they different?
I'm laughing at Mare being like,
I've answered this question in Sunsets on Summer, though. That's the problem.
Because I ask this question
every single time, and you know my answer.
I do, but there's other people.
Okay, that's fair. Go. I'm
a nosy bitch.
Everyone else go first, unless
you now I forgot my first part of the question.
The thing to think about is your meaningful moment. The one that's easy is just, how is this character different?
Oh, okay, that's the hard one. Okay.
Do you want me to just since I already know the answer to the second
one?
Go
for it. Let's hear the rehearsal. Because Licton's got to be different than every other one, right?
Not.
In some way.
I played 2 characters, okay? I play heartfelt people who care about everybody, hearts of gold. They care, would sacrifice their lives. And then I play pricks. And Licton.
And somehow Licton is both.
Explain the prick part.
like rules. No. Okay. I mean this in jest, but like, like when we first started out, Licton just felt like such a structure type A rules following person to a fault. And that's what I mean by reference, like a prick, you know, like the person, the rules lawyer, basically. Like don't go off and have fun. Don't go out and poop in the jungle, Verve. Where else am I gonna poop, Licton?
Can I add some quick commentary about Licton?
Sure.
I think that Licton deserves a special place, if nothing else, but for one particular respect. To my knowledge, Licton was the first character you ever did an accent for, right?
Yes.
I think that's super neat. As someone who does not do accents, I think that's something that's like super neat, especially to do like on stream in front of like real live people, or at least
I'll give it to you.
I'm proud of you for that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Like
I know you put a ton of work into getting Licton's accent and like practicing and picking like a specific region for that. So I thought that was super cool.
Okay. In terms of playing the character, that yes, I will concede that, but Licton is 100% someone who feels cares a lot for his friends. So that's similar to how other characters I've played in the past.
Capo or Finley?
Yeah. So this is no longer the case, but Verve was the first character that I started writing or that started crafting that was going to be that was going to be suspicious and shady and unworthy of trust from the party. Now, playing more and more streams since then, we know that that's my MO. But Verve was very much the first one to become that character, because before that, my characters were always like pragmatic and thinkers and just a lot easier to get along with. Verve, from the get-go, I said, they are not going to trust me. I'm going to be a little bit shadier, and that's going to be apparent from day one. So that's what was different about Verve on the get-go, on the onset, from the onset. But I took on a lot of projects around the same time as Numenera started airing, and it was like, oh yeah, no, Cap is just playing shady characters, and that's his MO. I just was on a kick, I guess.
Sometimes it's fun just to play a suspicious character.
It really is.
It is.
I like the trope of like a secret society of thieves and yeah, anyway.
I enjoyed seeing how characters, I feel like that's kind of like when you start off with a good character, you kind of pick something that you can establish an axis upon which your character has views around, right? And I feel like those kinds of things are kind of like, that's how you maneuver to certain parts within the party, but you're still kind of connected to this one main pillar. So I totally get that, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Finley, how about you?
So I'm a perpetual DM. So like to think about my past characters, I have to I'm like, oh, remember that time I played in like a one shot 4 years ago? But when I was making Nova, I made like my primary thing. I was like, I want to make a character who has inbuilt a reason to kind of go with the flow. I really wanted to play a character who at the get-go could be like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'll come along, not just because I feel like it and I don't have anything better to do, but because like that aligns with what I'm trying to do. Like I am a wanderer. I wanted her to be somebody who could realistically like have a kind and supportive conversation with the other people in the party. And I usually play characters who are a little bit more prickly than her, or a little bit more like a little bit more aloof. And Nova can be that for sure. But I also like really tried to play someone who was like able to make those connections.
Very cool. Alex, was there anything unexpected in any NPCs that you made or things like that? Or out of your normal character range?
I think this was the first time that I've ever had a PC play or NPC play such an integral role to the party's success as the character Sabine, who was the town crafter. This game was generally what I expected this game to be a big challenge for me because I usually run games in cities where anything and everything a character could need or be challenged by is all in one central location, and there can be very interesting challenges where it's like, oh, you need to deal with, somebody, but simultaneously you can't just like throw a fireball at them in the middle of a crowded metropolis with like guards and authorities. So having a lot of that shit like removed was definitely a challenge for me. But even so, like the sense of place and having like these recurring NPCs, I had more recurring NPCs in this game than I think I've ever had. And specifically having one who was like so mechanically helpful to the party and gave me so much like mechanically to work on through a single character. Because like on the back end of this, like I actually have a spreadsheet of like projects and available supplies and like all this shit that I would use to like, okay, what is this character working on now? What could they have accomplished given the time gap between the past 2 weeks? What resources do they have available to them? What does this person think the town needs? And so just diving into like an NPC for the like, and like playing them like really mechanically, but also having a big story presence was something new for me that I really enjoyed. I liked Sabine a lot. I thought she was super cool.
Sabine was really cool.
You're muted.
No, I wasn't, but I was just saying Sabine is really cool.
No, I'm muted. I was gonna say that's great. I was saying it's really neat when there's kind of a cornerstone NPC that can be, a real touchstone to the entire campaign, and grows with the characters too.
Sabine was also, I'm sorry, I got a bit of a tangent that I remembered. Sabine was also really interesting because I feel like Numenera is so Sabine was based on this character art of a person who has this like almost like an exoskeleton, like a mechanical exoskeleton type thing going on. They've got a metal arm and just stuff like that. And I wanted to use a character art because I fucking love it. But simultaneously, I actually spent a decent amount of time like reading into like just the experience of amputees and people who have lost limbs, and because I didn't want to gloss over that, but I also didn't want to I didn't want to speak through that character from my own experience. So I did a lot of research into like people who have lost limbs and people who have experienced the kind of things that I wanted this character to be able to portray. And that was also something new for me that I really enjoyed being able to do, especially with Rashiel, having mechanical implants, being able to, interface with another character on that level of having a, very noticeable disability and moving through the world and achieving great things while simultaneously having this what some people would consider to be a struggle or disability. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Very cool. Next general question is the one I just mentioned that we're going to come back to, which is, what is the most meaningful moment or experience or scene that you encountered in this campaign? For you, mostly as a player, but could be as a character.
There was Mine is going to be one of our very first, like I think maybe the very first interaction that we all came into as a group, interacting around the campfire. Because as a player, I wasn't sure. I had never played. I mean, I played with Mare, but I had never played with anyone else before, and that first interaction really set the tone of who we were going to be as players to each other, and who what our I think more so than what our characters were going to be for each other. So yeah, that first interaction around the campfire, maybe first couple interactions, I think. So we talk about tubers, Verve going off and looking at the sky, just Shield stabbing him or poking him with a knife, Licton kind of being around and being the pragmatic and on task person. That's how we were as characters, but as players, we all played off of each other really well, and it was at that point where I was like, okay, cool, like session zeros were great, we all are on the same page, but it wasn't until that first interaction where I was like, we are vibing with each other. This is something that I was not expecting stepping into this campaign. So I think, yeah, that for me the most impactful one was that first one, because it just felt like we have character moments where, like, character family moments, but like that one was like player family moment for me, the first one. So
that's awesome.
I'm thinking of something very similar. While you were going with season 1, the first session of season 2, when we were all sitting around after a couple days after the season 1 finale, where we all just kind of like let everything go, like all like the bad interactions or confusion we've had from the first season, and we really just settled as a cohesive group emotionally. And I think that was just such a good start to where the second season was going to go. And as you've already said, Kappa, and I think we've all mentioned it at least once already, the chemistry in this group is so fucking good. Like, I know it's kind of like a cop-out, but saying like the most meaningful moment is the entire game, but like I've played with several short-term games already, and this is the one I've vibed the most well with. There was no awkwardness at the beginning.
I'm thinking of another like group moment that has been alluded to, which is, or it was a group moment, but between me and Rochelle primarily, when Nova was a starfish and like communicating telepathically with Rochelle, and that like that sense of vulnerability and like comfort with another player. Like in that moment, I like really felt what it would be like to be trapped in another person in this like enormous consciousness body, and like really depending on someone you care about to get you out of there. But I remember that was also the moment where Verve and Licton discovered they could like hover jointly. That was that same time, right? There was some hovering happening, and you know, Rochelle dealing with a fear of heights, and like in this absolutely like incomprehensible situation. Like, you know, I think we saw a lot of weird things in this game, but that is the one where I'm like, whoa, if this had really happened, you would never recover. Like, you would be forever altered by this experience. So it's really stuck with me.
I feel like a real bastard because I'm only going to talk about something that like I did personally.
Do it.
Do it.
One of the most meaningful things that like I felt like I did in this campaign was going through creating and implementing the artificial intelligence AM. That was something that was like, I don't know, to me it just meant a lot. The name Am comes from a sci-fi short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, about a malevolent computer. And just this notion of, like I mentioned earlier, like opening Pandora's box, creating a weapon that cannot be unmade, and it's just out now. And you just have to deal with this like potentially world-ending power just being out and just being able to be copied and reproduced and remade and iterated on. And just the sort of like real world parallels of like weapons of mass destruction, and this notion of like all the potential of, you know, science to create these like great and wonderful things that will improve everyone's life, and the potential of Am to have been the smartest thing of the world that it existed in, but to have been created for a single purpose of destroying and being a weapon. To me, that was like a lot of like my own personal anxieties looking at, you know, international politics and like history and like the world, and just, you know, being a scientist who's one of, you know, whose potential career fields could be, with my degree, you know, development of weapons, which is something I'm not doing, to be clear, but it's a career path option for other people who have my degree. And so, yeah, going through with like creating Am and like putting a lot of my own anxieties and thoughts on like this kind of creation, this kind of scientific progress into an enemy that can both be defeated and be a triumph for the players, but also can in some ways not be defeated. And where one people triumph over it in one place, you never really know if it's still out there. That was something that meant a lot to me personally. Being able to play that kind of situation out was something that was, I don't want to say, I did really enjoy doing it, but it was something I was very glad to do.
Something
that's, go ahead.
So something that I kind of want now is a list of all the things that inspired different aspects of this game, from Alex, from Mare, from Finley, from Seth, to just like see where all of these inspirations come from, so that I can go back and watch Numenera and be like, oh, cool, that's where that's from. You know,
that would be so. I wonder if could we do that like on Patreon or something? We have a Patreon, like, or I don't know. Could we like put it in there? I don't know.
Look, I could sit here for another fourth watch length entirely just talking about my inspirations for this game. So
I can make an overlay. We can do it.
I was gonna say, y'all could have like a rewatch party. Y'all all could be drunk. No, you just don't have to. You just be.
I'll be drunk.
Party out different versions of what she said. The director's cut.
Throwing out the idea right now, fifth watch, where the cast rewatches the season.
I'm game
and
for
comments.
it.
And streams it.
But Alex, you did a very good job showcasing how you were saying you can't really get rid of it when you brought it back with Mother Naomi. Because I wasn't expecting that.
I think go for it.
I would say also, like, just the way you introduced it by having it be just a color, a fog. Like the fact it took us so long to figure out what the heck what we were even dealing with.
The fucking beams. The fucking memes.
Well, that was something I was also I spent a lot of time thinking about, because I knew I wanted to have like a small list of creatures associated with dealing with Am. I eventually settled on the weaponized meme because I wanted to hone down on the point that like Am is the creation of people. Like Am is a distinctly human invention. And so I wanted it to be dark reflections of the player characters, because I wanted it to be dark reflections of humans. I wanted it to be dark reflections of people, rather than, you know, picking out these, you know, exotic, bizarre, terrifying looking monsters. I wanted it to just be like, yes, this is scary, but it's scary because it's people.
I think that's awesome just in general when a DM can share their ideas of some real world things that don't always have to be exactly cut and dry and the same type of thing that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but still kind of incorporate the what ifs and the, what does that future look like, and share it with the players. I think that's an awesome kind of gift, and being able to see everyone kind of bounce off of it, right? I think that's a wonderful journey to go on together. So with our time left, we're going to come to our final question.
Do you mind if I cut you off for one quick second? We had a quick question from Luigi that I can answer in chat real fast.
Sure, yeah, please.
Luigi, your question, if Starfish ever made it back to its family out in outer space, I imagine it did. I don't know if it necessarily was reconnected to whatever biological family space Starfish came from. But I like to imagine that Starfish did reconnect with other creatures of its kind.
It's heard.
It all ended up well. Any other
Star and Teen Pod?
Oh, wow.
I was going to make some sort of y'all are a bunch of suckers joke or something.
Oh my god.
That joke won't make any sense in 5 years. So enjoy it while you can.
Or extreme sense. Let's hope not.
Are y'all ready for this final question?
No.
Oh, I am.
No.
Let's fucking go.
It is the least ceremonious among them, but the most Alex among them. So, with the powers vested in me, I declare the final question to be: fluff, marry, and kill.
Wow. Way to work around it.
Am the Dread Destroyer and the Iron Wind.
Finley, your face.
Who did this? Who did this?
Alex.
I did this.
I thought of this at midnight, and I got out of bed and typed this in because I knew I was gonna forget it, and I didn't want to.
Next day, I'm just like, hey, Alex, why? Fucking why?
Am, Dread Destroyer, and who?
Iron Wind.
Iron Wind.
Fuck,
Wind.
marry, kill.
I mean, maybe you fuck the Iron Wind because you could end up with some funny appendages, that could work out. Sex is really unpredictable, just like the Iron Wind. So I feel like there's some potential there.
I'm with you there.
And then I think you marry the Dread Destroyer because it's partly biological and maybe, it's big. It could protect you. You could live inside of it, housing, security, all set, and you kill Am because fuck that noise.
I got mine. If you want, I'll just do mine.
You go ahead, because I'm still on my thought journey right now.
You had time to.
I had time to think, and yeah, I still finished it 5 minutes ago. It's fine. So obviously, kill Am. Fuck that thing. Fuck the Dread Destroyer, because Licton has past trauma with Dread Destroyers. And then marry the Iron Wind. Alex, speak to the class. What are you saying?
I'm speaking to the class through my captions. Kappa, you want to go ahead or should I?
Sure, I can go ahead. I agree. I agree with Finley about the Iron Wind. Sex can be weird. It fun, wild, random things might occur. You don't really know. Could be a trip. I will flip the two things. One, Dread Destroyer it's a bug thing for me. I can't get over that. I'm getting rid of that. That's gone. I feel like I could fix Am. I feel like I could do it. Am's a fixer-upper.
They say that. No projects.
Okay. I feel like even though I didn't get to see Alex's captions, I feel like I need to just explain marry Iron Wind a little bit. If you're fucking the Iron Wind, you're touching it and you're gonna get changed. If you marry the Iron Wind, you don't necessarily have to touch it and you can divorce it.
That is a solid use of loopholes, and I like it. So for me, I will say, for much the same reasons as Finley and Kappa, fuck the Iron Wind, because it's gonna be weird. But you know, who knows how it'll end up. You might die an utter legend for having tried this in the first place. You might come out of this 50 times better than you came into this. Like, who knows? I sure don't. So you might as well give it a go. I will say I agree with Kappa on this, though for not quite the same reasons. I would say marry Am, because you know what? It's at least capable of communication and like intelligent discussion and thought, and it is for all intents and purposes on an intellectual level like a person to some extent. And kill the destroyer because bug.
Wow. Compelling arguments from everyone. Any last thoughts on that wonderful tidbit of a question?
I disagree with the compelling part, but
What about you, Luke?
Me? I get the idea of the Iron Wind being a good marriage partner because they would keep everything fresh. Every new day would bring something new. And
You're not wrong.
Or dead.
Yeah.
Or dead.
And they do spend a lot of time traveling.
That's
If
true.
that's something that works
Also
for
not
you.
wrong.
frequent
Right.
flyer miles.
And I think I would probably fuck the Dread Destroyer. Sorry, Fluff. Because it seems like it could be almost harnessed as some sort of like vehicle if you got buddy enough with it. Like, can you give me rides to this place type of thing? So it's kind of like a
Sugar buggy?
a bug with benefits, so to speak. But and then Am, I just everything I've heard about this, it's like when you hear like, oh, stay away from that one. It's like Am seems to be that one, and seems to be like the emotionally manipulative one in multiple senses. So I am messing with that. That's what I'd say in my very wide experience with everything here. Well, friends, that concludes our wonderful questions for our fourth watch tonight. What insights they have been into these wonderful, wacko, awesome character stories, and this campaign come to a close. Let's go around and do some sign-offs, and then we'll do our warm fuzzies and sign off. Who wants to go first?
Not afraid. Here we go. Kappa, signing off for the last time for Numenera Remnant. Hello, I'm Kappa. My real name is Christian, but Kappa TTRPG Spaces on Twitter. You can find me at the Kappa Chris. It's a wonderful place with lots of nerdy stuff, funny stuff, lots of activism things, and social justice things, and that's kind of my brand at the moment. I'm really trying to focus in on doing more stuff like that. I was gonna say you can find me here on Saturday, but you can't. Not unless another thing pops up on Saturdays. But I'm still running Revenge of the Crit on Kevin Kudo's channel, a D&D game skinned for the Star Wars universe in between episodes 2 and 3 during the Clone Wars. So that's every Wednesday night, 6 p.m., 5 or 6 p.m. Pacific, depending on how people are feeling. Fridays, anywhere you can find your favorite podcasts. Roads Uncharted is the only Genesis actual play podcast that I know of, where I play as a regular cast member, and it's a ton of fun. We just had a recording today, and I can't wait for it to come out because there are some really fun jokes slung around. I think we are the most recent episode that aired is the finish to our arc. Our guest arc with Josh Simons. If you know who Josh Simons is, they were on the show for a few episodes. Next week, I have a couple projects coming up. On Wednesday, April 28th at 4 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be on Friends Who Roll Dice, their channel, running Sina Una, along with some other really, really fun and to be honest, some of my heroes, people from the TTRPG space, raising money to stop AAPI hate. Directly the day after that, around the same time on Thorny Dryad's channel, Like a Prickly Bush, we're going to be kobolds in space, inspired a lot largely by Star Trek, and again raising money for to stop AAPI hate. On May 2nd, I'm going to be on Caitlin's channel, a theater file, doing a reading of Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare. And after that, I've got a bunch of other secret projects that I'm working on. Look out again on my Twitter at the Kappa Chris. Goodbye. I was Verve.
Do you want to say a favorite part of the fourth watch?
Favorite part of the fourth watch? Ooh. I mean, Luke, we don't get to interact that often. I really enjoyed being a part of in a space with you, and hope that we get to do something related to this kind of stuff later on. Being with everyone, obviously, but always love to sit at a new table with a new person that I respect and admire.
Oh, who's next?
Hi, I'm Mare. You can find me on Twitter at Archmage of Dice. On Saturday afternoons on my channel at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I run a game of Invisible Sun called Secrets Beyond the Suns. Here on this channel on Sunday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I run a D&D 5e game where my characters are entering the Shadowfell to try and close a rift that has opened onto the material plane. Also on May 2nd, I will be running one of the one-shots in Caitlin's birthday charity stream. It's going to be a wacky Feywild game. Oh, and I just opened Game Master submissions for a charity stream I'm going to run in June for Pride. I'll put that form in chat if anyone wants to throw their hat in and run a game. My favorite part of the fourth watch was just chilling and reminiscing with all you guys about this game, because this was such a great game. Thank you, Luke, for hosting.
Who's next?
I guess it's me. I feel like maybe if I don't do a sign off, no endings. No, it doesn't work like that. So hi, again, I'm Finley. You can find me on Twitter at infernal_glow, where I post wacky things that my Invisible Sun players do and talk about politics and current events and activism, and also post pictures of cute baby animals sometimes. And this is the only streamed game at the moment. Like Maryland, maybe something else will come up. I just heard that somebody's going to be doing some charity work in June for Pride. So who knows? But otherwise, I really hope to be involved in more streams in the future, but nothing planned right now. My favorite part of Fourth Watch was I've never done one of these before, and it's really nice to take time and just talk with all y'all about the choices that we made and our favorite memories. I feel like we're just sitting around and talking about our favorite TV show that we've been watching for 2 seasons. And I've loved this experience. Thanks.
All right, Alex.
I think that leaves just me. Hello, my name is Alex. I had the distinct pleasure of being the GM for this game for the past 16 sessions, and yeah, I had a ton of fun doing it. Currently, this was my only project. I am currently suffering through semester finals, after which I will probably be taking a break from everything that involves brain power for the foreseeable future. Which includes streaming, so I don't think I will have any projects coming up in the foreseeable or predictable future, but I'll be around. If you want to see my Twitter, you can follow me at axolotlpure, which is also where I will potentially post about any projects that I do get involved in at some point down the line. And let's see, favorite part of the session was seeing everybody's face as the question that I have been dying for an answer for was finally asked.
Are you pleased?
I'm very happy with myself. Let me tell you, I feel great.
I feel like this is Alex's version of like a power trip as a DM.
I mean, that was a fun question. I was expecting more of those.
Question.
I was expecting more of those in the fourth watch, to be honest.
Look, I got the FMK in. I also got the question about sandwiches. I feel pretty good.
Well, everyone, that just leaves me, my little self of this guest here. I've had the utmost pleasure of being the host for this fourth watch. My name's Luke Tannenbaum. You can find me on Twitter and the Overray Discord at Dr. Petrichor. You can also find me on Wednesday nights here on the same channel where I run Legacy of the Lizuku, where our players are currently stuck in a shadowy temple in the spirit world, and there's a snake-headed lady that has their number, which doesn't really exist in that time, but you know what I mean. You can find me tweeting about different video game related stuff or video game cinematics, which is my day job on Twitter, and that's mostly it for me. So we want to take a second and thank our wonderful support that kind of keeps our streams running every time, and really we owe a lot to. And that's going to be our warm fuzzies over from our Patreon. So we want to recognize, that's the word I'm looking for, our wonderful supporters, and we're going to start with Bel Chavez!
Yeah,
Bel Chavez, the OG.
We have L Street Gaming!
L Street Gaming.
Oh. Next we have Rick O.
Rick
Rick
O.
O.
Next we have Strix.
Strix.
Then we have Deborah.
Deborah.
And we have Blessed Elua.
Yeah, blessed.
Hey, blessed.
Thank you all so much for your wonderful support. That keeps us doing what we can do here. And with that, friends, it is going to be the conclusion of Numenera Remnant 4th Watch. Thank you for joining us here to reflect on an awesome series and an awesome cast. And we hope to see you another day where you're open for adventure.
I hate to.
Thanks, everyone.
Like, I want to.
Yeah.
I want to end it there, Luke. But we also don't forget. We have a discount code with Monty Cook Games.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You're not.
Surprise.
It's okay.
We do actually have one more thing for any of you lucky people that stayed after my premature leaving. We have a wonderful discount code for Monty Cook Games. Mara or Alex, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, if you were interested in Numenera and any of the shenanigans you saw over the past 16 sessions for that game, or if you are interested in the absolutely wild ride that is Invisible Sun, which is currently being showcased in front of you, which is a surreal game about magic and secrets. You can purchase both through the Monty Cook Games online store using our discount code, which will get you some money off and get these games into your hands at a more affordable price.
Look at all that cool shit.
You are interested in joining up and playing some of these games as well.
Awesome, and that is listed in the chat. Just use the code OPEN, the number 4 adventure for a discount. And you can share too in these wonderful stories. And that, I think, is our final goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've loved being here, and we hope you tune in for the next one, and we'll see you all later. Good
Peace
night,
for
everybody.
real.
Bye. Thank you. We miss you already. Bye.
Bye.